colleagues, friends, business partners, family, friends, welcome to the platform today. Super excited to be here with you guys on a Saturday. And today is one of those Saturday afternoons where you're going to get to learn from a young dynamic leader who's doing amazing things in the eye care industry, not only here in the African continent, but across the globe. And that is none other than Dr. John Assan. How are you today, Doc? Hey, Doc, how are you? Hey, everyone. I think we might have a bit of a connection problem on Dr. Assan's side. But nonetheless, while we wait for him to join in, I got to connect with Dr. Assan about a year or two ago. Noticed on social media, noticed on some of the platforms that there's this young leader who's breaking barriers, and you're seeing him in platforms that you're like, wow, I wish I was there. And you're going to get to learn from him today as we have him back on. Hey, Doc, how are you?
I am doing great. How are you too?
Fantastic, fantastic. I'm super excited. The eye care community is super excited to be learning from you today, hearing your story, because I think you've got one of the most interesting stories that
I'm
will
also very
benefit so
happy
many
to be
people.
here. Very excited to be here.
Fantastic, fantastic. Who is Dr. John? How did you land
Yeah,
up in
I'm very
eye care,
excited
man?
to be here too. Okay, can you hear
Fantastic,
me?
fantastic. Yeah, I can hear you clearly, Doc. I can hear you clearly.
Okay, great. So your question was, how did I end up in eye care?
Yeah.
Okay, so after my high school education in Ghana, actually I had all my education in Ghana, okay? From nursery to primary school, high school, all that education was in Ghana. So after high school, I wanted to go to the medical school, as a science student. Um, every science student is thinking of doing medicine in this part of the world, you know. So yeah, that was my dream. And unfortunately for me, I couldn't make it the first time I applied to medical school. Yeah, so I was so disappointed, and I just decided to wait and then reapply. And so the following year, there was this program being offered at University of Cape Coast in Ghana. I read about that program, and
Yes, Doc.
and I said, okay, let me give it a try. As I Hello, are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you, Doc. You just keep breaking in and out, but we can hear you clearly. We lost Dr. Hassan there. I think he was giving us context of how we ended up in the eye care industry. Hey, Doc,
Yeah.
you
So,
back?
like I was saying, I heard about optometry in University of Cape Coast, and then I wanted to apply to it. I wanted to apply to optometry and then apply to the medical school and see, where that would lead me. And so this time around, I had admission to the optometry school in UCC, University of Cape Coast. And I was still skeptical about, going into eye care and then, not really pursuing the dream I had, that was medicine. So I had the chance to interview with one of the faculty at University of Cape Coast at the time. That was Dr. Charles Dakute Techi. And then he explained the program to me. He gave me a very good perspective. And then I decided, okay, let me give this a shot.
Wow, wow. And so when
Are
you
you
then
there?
joined, yeah, I can hear you, Jock. I can hear you clearly. Don't mind the interruption in the connection. We'll work our way around it. So don't stress. Don't
Hello?
stress, Doc.
Yeah. Is the network stable? Is everything okay?
Yeah, it's fine now, Doc. It's fine. We can continue.
Okay, okay, okay.
So you say you ended up getting the opportunity then to find out more about the profession, and you ended up going into the university and then starting with your optometric journey. That's where we got cut off.
Yes, so that's how I got into eye care. Um, that was the whole journey, So I started from first year in University of Cape Coast, and then I graduated in 2021, and then here I am.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Now, what are some of the things that you enjoyed the most whilst you were studying optometry? Because obviously your initial plan of action was to do medicine. And because that did not happen, your plans then had to change. Your vision had to change, or you had to adapt your vision and make the most of being in the eye care industry. So what did you find yourself enjoying the most whilst you are still studying optometry?
Okay. So let me just add this. Right from the first year, I developed a very strong interest in the program. I had to psych myself to understand that, hey, this is a field that you can excel in if only you do your best. And then I'm happy I developed that interest right from the beginning. So it wasn't very difficult. Yes, obviously some of the courses crack, some of them like binocular vision, visual perception, some of those courses. But generally, it was a smooth journey for me. I really enjoyed my time in optometry school. I had wonderful faculty, wonderful mates. It was great.
Wow. For audience members who are in other parts of the country or of the continent, how long does it take for one to complete their optometry degree in Ghana?
Okay, so in Ghana, it takes 6 years. You do
Okay.
6 years in school, and that is for the Doctor of Optometry degree. 6 years after high school, okay, and then 1 year internship. You go to the clinic, and then you work as an intern before you sit your licensure exam. Yeah, but it's 6 years in school.
All right. So once you are qualified then as a doctor of optometry,
Yeah.
you that took place in 2021, and then
Yes.
2022, that's when you were doing your internship throughout the past
Yes.
year. You were doing your internship.
Yes.
Recently, earlier on this year, we got to see you in America. We got to see you being achieving great things, if I can put it that way. Do you want to go into detail into you just qualified in 2021, you work 1 year as a intern, and next thing you are having massive international accolades right in America. So can you explain to us what were you doing that led to you being in America, and what is it that you achieved that got you international recognition recently?
Okay.
Can you hear me,
Are
Doc?
you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello?
Hi, Doc. I can hear you clearly, Doc.
Okay. So yes, about the journey to America and all that. While I was in school, I was a member of the American Academy of Optometry. I was a student member. I joined because I was very interested in the kind of things they were doing, the their commitment to lifelong learning that they promote. Okay, so I joined, and then I wanted to learn as much as I could from there. Yeah, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Doc.
Hello?
Hey, Doc. I'm still here.
Hello, Doc.
Hey, everyone. Yeah, I can hear you clearly, Doc. I think you just keep breaking in and out. But yeah, I
Can
can
you
hear
hear
you
me?
clearly now. Yeah, I can hear you clearly now, Doc.
So can I go on?
Yeah.
Okay. So in my final year, I learned about the fact that one could be a fellow of the academy. And so I went to the academy website. I read about all the requirements. At the time, I was speaking to the membership director, that is Kayla Written. I was speaking to her about, the qualifications, the things I needed to do in order to qualify to be a fellow. And thankfully, among the faculty in University of Cape Coast, there were two of them that were already fellows. I was speaking to them very regularly about the processes and then the things to do. And so I just mustered courage and then I registered. I applied because from the requirements, I qualified to start the fellowship process. And so I registered and then I started the process. So I needed to submit either publications, first author publications, academy lectures. There were so many things I could do, including submitting case reports that I had seen. And so I decided to submit case reports that I had seen, cases that I had seen in the clinic and managed on my own as a newly qualified professional. And then I wrote the case reports. I remember I wrote a case on fungal keratitis, another one on myopia comorbid with glaucoma.
Wow.
It was quite a complex condition, retinitis pigmentosa. We applied low vision to help that patient. And there was another case I wrote on, I've talked about ocular toxoplasmosis, yes. And so I put these cases together, and then thankfully my admittance committee chair supervised all my cases, assessed all my cases together with his team, and I was approved. All my cases got approved. The first time I didn't have to do any revisions. That my supervisor was Professor Nicholas Rooney. We share him as our mentor, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, he supervised my cases, and then I qualified at the written stage. And so the next stage was to attend the American Academy of Optometry meeting to sit the oral exam. But that was going to be difficult because it was very cost intensive. And so I was thinking of doing the virtual option. But Nicholas Rumley said, "Oh, John, I could speak to the academy leadership and then we could see what could come out of it."
Yeah.
And thankfully, the academy sponsored. Did you get me?
You just broke when you just got cut off there when you're explaining that Professor Nicholas Rumney spoke with the academy. Do you mind just saying that again so that no one misses what you're trying to say?
So Professor Nicholas Rumney spoke to the leadership of the academy. He approached them and he told them he's mentoring a Ghanaian who is a candidate for fellowship. But because of where I'm coming from, there were some challenges. So he appealed for support, if any, for me. And the academy leadership was happy to sponsor me to attend the meeting in person. Yes. And so they gave me the support, flight ticket, registration, everything. They covered it. And then I really appreciate the academy for that and Prof. Rumley for that appeal. He really supported me. Yeah.
Wow. Firstly, congratulations. I mean, that is a massive achievement. And I saw when the academy was announcing the new fellowships, you are announced as one of the youngest fellows to come into the academy. So that is a massive congratulations and a massive achievement on your part, because you being able to make it because of where you come from. You not only represent yourself, but you're representing many other future Eyecare leaders from the African continent, not only Ghana, but countries like Kenya, South Africa, Botswana, Namibia, Morocco, Egypt, and so many others that you are representing, including, of course, Nigeria, Tanzania. And so massive congratulations on that achievement. How did you connect?
Thank you so much.
How did you connect with Professor Nicholas Rumney, though? Where did you guys meet? How did that come about? And what were you doing that got his attention?
Okay, so when you register to become a candidate for fellowship, the academy would assign you to a subcommittee chair. And so in my case, I was assigned to Professor Nicholas Rumney as my subcommittee chair. And so we got talking. He introduced himself, and then we started. I submitted my first case, it got approved. My second case got approved. And so it was my second case that really got his attention. He sent me an email telling me that he really liked that case, that particular case, the one on myopia comorbid with primary open angle glaucoma. And so we
Yes.
started talking on a personal level from that point. So I sent him my third case, my fourth case, and then my fifth case. And then he was quite impressed with my work. Also, at the academy meeting in America, that was in California, San Diego, we met for the first time in person. And then it was all excitement because it was very nice to put face to name. We had a very nice conversation. And then that was how it started. Yeah.
Wow, man. Wow, Doc. That's absolutely incredible. So, what would you recommend to a young optometrist like yourself who is now inspired by your journey and wants to start the process of being part of getting the fellowship of optometry in America? What are some of the steps or practical steps that you would advise them? Yes, they can go to the website and look at the requirements, but what would you advise in terms of how they can differentiate themselves to be able to
Okay.
stand out and get those opportunities that you have unlocked for yourself?
Okay. Thank you very much for that question. Thank you very much. So first of all, I'm going to say that, or I'm going to encourage everybody that it's all about the mindset. It's all about the mindset. It's very important to approach every endeavor with a mindset that you can do it. It doesn't
Wow.
matter where you're coming from. It doesn't matter your social standing. What matters is your mindset.
Wow.
Yes, and becoming a fellow of the academy, it is a very rigorous process. The requirements are very rigorous. We are expected to show excellence at the highest level and also to show a commitment to lifelong learning. But one cannot do all these without a mindset to want to achieve something positive.
I
So the
love that.
first thing is that you need that mindset. You need that mindset to want to go out there and make a change. Becoming a fellow is not just for yourself, it's not just an accolade for yourself, but it's something that, like you said, and then other people can learn from, other people would want to draw inspiration from that journey. So that is the first one. Secondly, it's important to, whether you want to become a fellow through the scientific process by submitting first author papers, or if you want to go the clinical way by submitting case reports, or if you have maybe a history of academy lectures, etc., or a leadership contribution, you could put all of them together and then apply, because the academy is looking at it holistically.
Ah,
um yes, it's a holistic consideration.
can you hear me, Doc?
People who are into leadership, whether are you with me?
Yeah, I've got you. Yeah,
Okay.
you were just where I lost you. You were just saying that the academy does not look at it one dimensionally. They look at a
Yes,
holistic
yes,
approach to various
yes,
aspects of eye care, whether it be the academic approach, the clinical approach, the business approach, or the leadership approach. They look at it
yes.
holistically. So you are not limited to one option that can get you to become a fellow of the academy. So that's where I lost you, but you are busy
That's
explaining
right.
that in detail.
That's right. So yes, so you can, whether you have a leadership contribution at the local level or the international level, you can write a report on that to the academy as part of the requirements, and then it will be evaluated. Okay. Uh, as for the specifics, you could write a 1,200 worded essay or a 6,000 worded essay. And then that could give you 10 points and 50 points respectively, depending on what you do.
Ah,
First author case reports or first author publications, right? If you are in academia, you can send in your publications. Just that you need to be first author, and then they need to be in journals that are approved by the academy. And then, of course, you can go through the clinical pathway by submitting case reports.
were you not nervous? Were you not scared?
Oh no, I wasn't scared at all. Not at all. I knew that it was a daunting task. I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but I just worked hard. I put in the work. Um, there were times I was staying up late to be able to work on my cases.
Wow.
There were times I needed to sponsor some of my patients because some of them were having challenges, and so they were not really ready to come for reviews. But I had to encourage them. I had to make sure that they got better, and it was very exciting experience for me.
Wow, absolutely, absolutely amazing. Now, as a result of you then being um, accepted as a fellow of the academy, how has that changed your eye care journey or your professional career? Now, when you come back home to Ghana, what does that all mean now for you as a doctor of optometry in Ghana? What impact has that had now on your eye care journey in clinical practice? What are you currently working on now that was a result of the influence and the impact of becoming a fellow of the academy? How has that impacted your journey?
Okay, thank you so much. So, um, this has impacted me in many ways, and I'm going to talk about all of them. First of all, as a professional, my approach to my patients has changed. Now I am more committed to the evidence-based practice. And so if I get a patient today, I want to make sure that that patient is handled uniquely. I look at my patients and I see to them in a unique way, seeing to their unique problem. Also, I'm committed to making sure that I serve them with evidence-based practice, right?
Yeah.
Because that is one thing the academic champions that as a professional you need to practice with evidence-based practice. Okay, so that is in terms of my work as a professional. In terms of my work as a professional, that is how hello.
Yeah, I can hear you, Doc. Yeah, you were just you
Yeah.
were when you were breaking, you were just explaining that your approach now is influenced greatly by evidence-based approach that you are
Yes.
not necessarily doing as much of before you got your fellowship versus now with the fellowship. That's what you are basically approaching patient care
Yes.
like.
Yes. Yes.
Wow, absolutely
Yes.
incredible. But now your interest within the eye care landscape, how have they evolved now that you did your internship for a year, you went to go
Yes.
get your fellowship of America or of the
Yes.
academy? Now, with your current approach to patient care, how has that influenced your future plans? And what are some of those future plans that you have set for yourself as goals that you want to achieve? Or how do you see your eye care journey growing over the next couple of months or years?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly, Doc.
Okay, so there was a statement by one of the speakers at the academy that really, really impacted me positively. It was by Dr. Michael Cheng. He's with the National Eye Institute in America. He said that today's research will influence tomorrow's practice. Let
Wow.
me take it again.
Yeah.
Today's research will influence tomorrow's practice. So
Wow.
that really, really encouraged me and inspired me to go into vision science research because as clinicians, I'm sure you can allude to that fact. Most of the time we encounter cases where after treatment, it doesn't resolve and we are not sure what to do next.
Yes.
That is because there is a knowledge gap that we need to fill. And so that is one thing that has changed in me. I have become more committed to vision science research and finding out the answers that will be used by the clinicians of tomorrow.
Wow.
And I think that is very important because we need to find the answers to be able to help our patients better.
Yeah, my goodness, that is a very interesting and powerful way to look at things, because sometimes, especially in Africa, as much as we get ourselves exposed to what is happening out there in the world in terms of latest developments in eye care, our responsibility as eye care professionals on the continent is to look at whatever advancements are taking place in the world and apply them within the local context of how do I make this relevant for eye care in Kenya, Ghana, Namibia, South Africa, and so forth. Because the dynamics of our patient profile locally here on the continent is perhaps slightly more different to the patient profile of someone else in America or Europe or other parts of the world. So I like your thinking around that, because it makes it practical for the future generation of optometrists that are going to be taking the baton from you in 10 years' time. They will be able to accelerate eye care progress to another level, because it will have been leaders like yourselves who are paving the way for how we're going to be practicing in the future. So I absolutely love that approach by you. I wanted to ask you something.
Okay.
Can you hear me, Doc?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, sometimes as eye care professionals on the continent, we are limited by resources, or we make resources an excuse for us not being able to do certain things.
Yeah.
In your case, what would you advise that young professional who is looking at their current financial situation and they thinking to themselves, I've got all these ideas, but I just don't know where to start, how to get the support that I need in order to go to where I need to be? What would you advise them to do based on the fact that you have gone through that process yourself?
Okay. Thank you very much for that question. I think it's a very important question for everyone listening. So I have a personal motivation that I want to share. And that is, don't wait till everything is set before you make the move. Just start.
I like that.
Okay? Don't wait till everything is set, because the point is we are going to learn as we go on. We are going to acquire experience and more skills as we go on. And there is a saying in the local language in Ghana. I'll just translate it to English so that everybody can understand. It goes like, so when a child climbs the right tree, he gets support. When a child climbs the right tree, he gets support.
How do you say it in your language?
What that means, in my language, okay, so in my language, it is abofrapa fodia. I mean, let me take it again. Abofra fodia pa wo piano tune. Abofra
I can't say that.
Wo piano tune. Yeah, don't worry about that. Yeah, but then the meaning is that when a child climbs the right tree or does something that is positive, he will get the support. Wow. And so, there are so many people who are looking for young people to support, young people to mentor, young people to lead to achieve what they want to achieve. But if you do not make that move, if you don't step out and start something, nobody's going to notice you. And so just start. Don't be limited by resources. Don't be limited by money or by funds or by whatever. Just start.
Wow, I love that. I've got, hey, Mr. Gary. I can't wait to connect with you. We've got Mr. Gary joining us there.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
With a comment there. Mr. Gary, I can't wait to connect with you. It's been a minute. We need to catch up again. Thank you very much for tuning in. I've got a personal story based on what you've just said, Doc. Professor
Sure.
Nicholas Romney came to a conference in South Africa
Uh-huh.
in 2017, actually 2016, and then he came again in 2017. But in 2016, when he
Okay.
was here in South Africa, we never got to speak. And then in
Okay.
2017, he came again for another conference, and I got an opportunity to speak to him because we were participating in the same conference. And I connected with him. And that
Okay.
saying that you've just shared, I'm living testimony of exactly that saying. Because I was climbing the right
Wow.
tree, it
Yeah.
attracted me to him and him to myself, to a point where when I went for my first international trip for my business, guess who made it
Yeah.
possible? It was Professor Nicholas Romney who made it possible,
Wow.
because I was already climbing the tree and he then saw me and he was like, how can I help you? I like what you are doing. How can I support you? So I agree
Wow.
with you fully that if you wait for circumstances to be favorable, you will wait
Yeah.
forever. But once you start
Yes.
moving, the right resources will come, the right people will come, the right
Absolutely.
opportunities will come. So I totally,
Yeah.
totally agree with you in that regard.
Yeah.
Are you currently in private or public practice?
Okay. So currently, I am doing a summer research internship. This is in preparation for my next career move to go into research. But just recently, I was into private practice in Ghana, in a rural community in Ghana, Akimodan. That was where I was serving a private clinic in the So Eye Center. But just recently, because of the career transition I'm making, I went into a summer research internship, and I'm currently working on a number of research collaborations, just getting ready for my next career move into full-time research.
Wow, wow. How do you see that influencing the eye care landscape on the continent beyond how we will practice later, but practically, do you see more eye care professionals going into research? Do you see what are some of the changes that your generation of eye care leaders are going to be making in the future as a result of the sacrifices that you are currently doing, for example?
Okay, so I think that it is very important. There are more eye care professionals in our continent who want to venture into research now.
Okay.
The reason is that we need to solve problems that are peculiar to us as Africans. Let me give this example. So OCT, optical coherence tomography,
Yeah.
it is largely based on normative data that applies to Caucasians and whites, right?
Yeah.
But in Africa, we use these same normative data for our glaucoma diagnosis, etc. We use the
Yes.
same software that applies to Caucasians. But Africans may have variations in our physiology, which may warrant the need for us to have normative data that applies to us.
Oh, true. True.
I know that there have been some few studies that have tried to gather normative data of Africans, but we need to do more. Not just in
Okay.
glaucoma research, but contact lens research, anterior segments, dry eye, especially because of the fact that in Africa, the tropical regions suffer more when it comes to dry eye prevalence, simply because of the weather, simply because of the weather conditions, you know, which is different from what may be experienced in the temperate regions abroad in the West, etc. And so I think that it's very important for African eye care professionals to take the bull by the horn and then go into research so that we can answer questions that are peculiar to us as Africans.
I
And
love
then
that.
also contribute that data or that information to the worldwide research. Yeah.
I love that. And last year, towards the end of the year, we did an interview with an ophthalmologist. She works at the St. John Eye Hospital. She's an ophthalmologist, and her passion is eye care on the
Okay.
African continent, in the sense that she wanted she was busy, her and her husband were busy doing research. Let me pull this up. They were busy doing research that is specific to the continent. Dr. Sarah Ishmael, her focus on her research was all the information, all the textbooks, all the technology. It's not applicable to the majority of the population on the continent. And so
that's right.
the research that she was doing was how do they go about redefining the approach to patient care as a whole,
Yeah.
from start to finish, because
Yeah.
the patient profile on the continent is completely different than the patient profile in other parts of the world. So it's
That's
so
right.
interesting now to see that even us as optometrists are thinking the same way as ophthalmologists on the continent. That
That's
can
right.
only mean that eye care as a whole in the next few years is going to elevate to a whole different dimension that will accelerate the progress that we'll be making in eye care development on the continent. So I'm super excited.
Absolutely.
I'm super
Absolutely.
excited to see that happening right now, because young people are thinking differently now. We are saying
Absolutely.
it's not just the information that we are receiving, but what information are we creating that is stemming from the
Absolutely.
continent to go to the rest of
Yeah.
the world. And that means that when the rest of the world comes to the continent, they will also have to elevate their approach to patient care, because what they will know as a norm will no
Absolutely.
longer be the norm. So I'm super excited. I'm super excited.
Absolutely. It's really exciting. The future's
Can you hear me, Doc?
looks very, very exciting. And I want to hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. So I'm just encouraging all our audience, especially young professionals, that let's change the narrative when it comes to research in Africa. Let's change the narrative, but we need to do the work and make sure that ourselves out there to merge with the global information.
How can we collaborate more? How can we accelerate this process? What are some of the ideas that you have, or what are some of the thoughts that you might share with us in terms of someone who's sitting in Burkina Faso, who's thinking the same way as you, connecting with someone who's sitting in Angola, connecting with someone that's sitting in South Africa, in Tunisia? What can we do to come together and be able to learn from one another? What are some of the ideas that you think we can do in connecting with one another, in fast tracking this new narrative that we are pushing then on the continent?
Okay, thank you again for that question. I think that it's very important that we network more.
Okay.
We need to go big on networking, whether locally and internationally. Let me give an example. LinkedIn is a very powerful tool to be able to network with professionals all over the world. There are almost no barriers on LinkedIn. You can just collaborate, send a message to a researcher in another part of the world, and then collaborate. But that also, we can organize some of these workshops, symposia, conferences, even on our own in Africa, and then invite our foreign counterparts to come in. And it would interest you to know that they would be more than excited to come on board, because a lot of them are looking for opportunities to enter the African eye care research space. And so we need to take that step. Let's organize some conferences, and we can call it, say, African Research Conference. Or are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Doc. Can hear you. You were saying some of the things that we can also do is organize conferences
Hello?
where it can be focused on topic specific based on the objectives that we could be having in that which we want to achieve. So yeah, that's where I lost you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we can just organize a conference, a worldwide conference, but then to be hosted in Africa, where we bring on board various researchers and professionals in Africa so that we can meet with our counterparts from the West, from the East, from other continents in the world. And I believe that that will be a big platform for exchange of knowledge, exchange of ideas, and then collaborations to go on from there.
Wow, I love that. You know, one thing I love about today is that we did not we did
Yeah,
not let the technology get in between what we wanted to achieve today, because I'm
absolutely,
thinking about
absolutely,
getting the job done irrespective of the circumstances that you find yourself in. We could have
absolutely,
made the decision to say the connection is bad, we're getting so many interruptions, and let's reschedule it for another time. But what we wanted to talk about was so important that
yeah,
the connectivity got better as we kept on speaking. So
as
that
we
for
moved
me,
on, yeah,
that shows me that if you're waiting to have amazing lighting, if you're waiting to have the latest laptop, the latest camera, the latest this, the latest that, it can hinder you. But if you stay focused on
absolutely,
the main objective, you're going to get a lot more done. And so for and this is practically a perfect example of the fact that when we started this conversation, we started late, our internet was giving us problems, but the topic, we have been talking about so many valuable things that people that are going to be watching this afterwards, they're going to be blown away that I can't believe I left the conversation at the beginning, because these guys ended up talking about such important information. So for me, this has been a lesson to me that don't let anything come in between what you want to achieve. If you see a need
absolutely,
within your community, get the job done. If you see a patient coming with
absolutely.
a particular problem,
Just take the move.
go out of your way and fix it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Wow, doc. What excites you? What are you most passionate about, that gives you all this energy that you have?
Yeah, well, so I like to see people smile and then just be okay. So that is my one of my motivations. If I can do something for someone, for that fellow or that person to be happy, to be fulfilled, then I'm also fulfilled. So I think that all through those who know me can attest to that fact that I'm a person who likes to help as much as I can. But it doesn't stop there. My aim is to make sure that another person is fulfilled, another person is excited, another person's problem is solved. That is what I'm looking at all the time. And so it doesn't, there is no discouragement from me, because I want to solve a problem. I want to do something so that someone else would be happy. Yeah, and maybe that's where all this is coming from.
Now, on that, let me ask you this question then. When it comes to patient care, with the kind of focus that you are having and the type of work, high level patient care work that you are doing, how do you handle a frustrated patient who you now have to find a solution for, but it's going to require multiple visits? And perhaps they're traveling from far, because you mentioned that sometimes you're working in rural areas. And so
Yeah.
the the patients might not have the patience that is required to have the solution that they need. How do you deal with that on a practical level in practice?
Okay, very big question, very, very important question. Thank you so much for that. So, I'm going to speak practically, the practical things that I have done. I have had patients with severe giant papillary conjunctivitis, keratoconus, some patients with high myopia, some patients with retinal detachment who needed B scans, A scans, etc. What did I do? The first step I took was to solve their problem. So some of them could not afford the medication. And so I went above and beyond to help them get the medication in the first place. Some of them could not afford to be coming for reviews. So in the little way I could help, I got them help to be able to come to the clinic for their reviews. And this is something I'm happy to do all the time, because helping that patient get better is the bigger picture. Their economic situation shouldn't be a limitation to their quality of life. And sometimes it is difficult to be able to do all that. And so sometimes I need to get help from other people to be able to support these people. But most of the time I try to go above and beyond to sponsor, to either support them in terms of cash or kind, for them to be able to make it. It is not easy. And I'm not saying this to blow my trumpet. I'm saying this to encourage my fellow professionals that it's not all about the money sometimes. It's not all about the money sometimes. Sometimes you could sacrifice that property of. Are you there?
Yeah, you just broke when you said sometimes it's not just about the money. Then can you pick it up from
Yes.
there?
Yes, it's not just about the profit that you make off that patient, but the bigger picture is that if you're able to help that patient so that that patient has the quality of life to work and then support his family or her family, in the long run, we are going to affect the entire society. So you see that bigger picture. So sometimes it's really difficult, but let's look at the bigger picture. Help that one patient sitting in your chair so that that patient can transform his life and then be productive.
I love that. I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Doc, I've got a feeling that there's going to be more of this on the Africa Media platform. I think
Absolutely.
I'm super excited about future collaborations with you. I'm
Yeah.
super excited about the work that we're going to do on the continent uh, through putting you in front of different platforms,
Yeah.
because you've got a gift. You've got a gift, but most importantly, you've got the willingness to be able to put in the work. You've got the discipline to be able to put in the sacrifice that is required for us to be able to do the work that we need to do as an eye care community on the continent. So as a result, I'm looking forward for possible collaborations of in any capacity where we can prioritize research and development and learning on a practical scale on the continent through you. And so we need to talk more about that regard, because today's topic and today's conversation that we've just or that we're busy having it's really powerful. It's practical and it's challenging me. I mean, people right in the beginning, they never thought that it would be possible for them to be fellows, to become fellows of the academy. You showed them how that is possible. Some people were thinking, I don't have the resources to achieve or do certain things. You showed them how. But most importantly now, you have given us a step-by-step guideline as
Yeah.
to how we should approach research on the African continent to elevate eye care. So I'm super excited. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your willingness to be able to impart your knowledge and share it with the eye care community and the LinkedIn community and the YouTube community that's connected with us today.
Yeah, and thank you so much for the opportunity to do this with you. I mean, I don't take this for granted at all. I don't take this lightly at all, because you know it's very important to speak for other people to draw inspiration. And I'm happy. I'm very excited. I'm happy to. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Doc.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm here, Doc. We can hear you.
Hello.
Hi, Doc. We can hear you.
Hello.
We can hear you, Doc.
Hello.
We can hear you, Doc. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Mr. Gary just shared a post here. Let me share it with the community. He says, Dr. Hassan's webinar on breaking eye care barriers is inspiring. It's wonderful to see opticians coming together to learn and share knowledge. And Dr. Hassan's expertise in the field is truly remarkable. I'm sure his insights and advice were invaluable to all who attended the webinar, and I hope that you were able to take away some actionable tips and strategies to improve your own practice. Keep up the great work and never stop learning and growing in your profession. How amazing is that from Mr.
Wow, that's
Gary?
fantastic. Fantastic. Thank
Mr.
you so
Gary is in
much.
the UK. He's a guru when it comes to eye care marketing and marketing as a whole. I got the opportunity of doing some work with him in 2020, 2021, and he's a trailblazer when it comes to just how eye care professionals can reposition themselves and their businesses and their practices in adding value to practices. So for him to share such an
Yeah,
amazing
really
comment
great.
is truly a blessing. So thank you very much for that, Mr. Gary.
Yeah.
Dr. Assan, how can people connect with you? Are you on social media? Where can people connect with you? And what's your handle?
Okay, so just before I get to that, I want to thank you again. I think I broke up there. I was just thanking you when I'm saying that I'm open for all kinds of collaborations, and I'm happy to help the continent transform eye care research and eye care practice. So I'm on Facebook as Kwesi Assan, Paakwesi Assan. I'm on LinkedIn, John Kwesi Assan, and then I'm also on Twitter as John Kwesi Assan on Twitter. You can also find me on Instagram, jk.assan. So yeah, I mean, I'm just John Kwesi Assan everywhere. So it's very easy to find me.
Wow, thank you very much for today, Doc. Everyone,
Thank you for
thank you
having me.
once again for joining us. Apologies again for just the earlier break in communication or in the connectivity, but we managed to get the work done. I'm super excited. This was a powerful conversation on a Saturday afternoon. My brain now is thinking so many things now that we
Yeah.
have to go do. So I'm super excited. But thank you so much, Doc. Until the next
Thank you so
episode,
much.
make sure you connect
Thank
with us
you,
on
the
the different
viewers.
platforms.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for having me. Thank you to our audience for bearing with us. And thank you. Happy to